Welcome to Plot Twist Radio, the show where creativity, storytelling, and the unpredictable path of the creative life all collide. I'm your host, Erin Egnatz. Hello, and welcome to Plot Twist Radio. Before we get going, can you tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
My name is Kristin Massey. I grew up on the North Shore of Chicago with big dreams to get out in the world. And step by step, I went out there and became a musician. And I was signed to a major label, PolyGram Records and Atlantic Records, and then just went from there. Every time I turned around, there was something else calling me, and I stepped up and did it. It's been an amazing ride, and it continues today with you.
Oh, well, thank you. And you know what? As soon as you said North Shore, I was like, yes, that is my area. I love it up in the North Shore. Which part of the North Shore, like Winnetka or?
I'm sitting in Winnetka as we speak. Thank you so much for wondering. It's a little different than the Winnetka in California, which isn't the nicest place, although people get really good prices there. This is along Lake Michigan, and it's really a spectacular little niche north of Chicago.
Yes, it's beautiful. I live in Northwest Indiana, but I'm always up there because I'm just attracted to the vibe, the beauty, you name it. I love it up there. I need to get my husband to move up there.
Yes, come on up. There's room for you. Come
Uh,
on.
I'd love
Kids will love
to.
it.
So, as you were just saying, your life, it reads almost like multiple completely different careers stitched together, which I love because I'm the same way. At what point did you realize maybe this isn't random? Maybe this is just part of the path.
I think that just like every kid, we all want to be the greatest of all time, the GOAT when we're kids. We want to be that Tom Brady, that Michael Jordan. We want to, or Simone Biles. We want to be the best. Not all of us statistically can be the best. So as I realized I wasn't winning any Grammys as a singer-songwriter, but I really had a great ride with it. And I thought, we go around once, and depending on your religious beliefs, we only go around once. And I think it's time to change gears and go into something else. And I took a 180. My husband is a nutritionist, food scientist, sports nutritionist, and he's worked with a lot of athletes. And I started doing recipes for them and Euro basketball players. And it was just so fun because I've always had a love of food.
Very cool. My father, he worked with food scientists. He wasn't one. He was the marketer. But
Mhm.
oh my gosh, some of the stuff that they came up with was amazing. I love to be like the taste tester. That was like the best thing in the world.
Oh, it is exactly. Because good food that's good for you can taste really, really good. It doesn't have to taste like a stick, as my nephew said when he tasted my mother's healthy cookies. It can taste delicious. It's just that we need to be using whole foods and foods that are sourced well so that we're putting the great fuel in our bodies. It's a cliche, but it's true.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's start with your music career and we'll kind of just follow the path like you did. What was it like touring nationally? I've always wondered this. It seems like it's a lot of work, but really fun too.
It's so fun. I think it's a little more fun than for the band than the lead singer, because the band gets to sleep in while the lead singer goes and does all the radio promotion first thing in the morning. And then we're playing late at night. And who can go to sleep after a big show with lots of raucous applause and a lot of fun? You're up late, late, late. You can't wind down. And then when that alarm goes off, oh man, Erin, it's hard. But in retrospect, there's almost nothing more fun than doing that and getting to sing and share your music with people and see people mouthing the words to your songs in the audience. You know you've reached hearts then, and that's what it's all about.
That is so cool. Was that your first creative pursuit, music?
Pretty much so. I tell people I was in the womb loving music. My mother said she used to play classical music the whole time I was in the womb. And I came out just loving it. And soon after, I caught on to the Beatles, and my sisters and I pretended we were them. And we formed little bands around Chicago and started playing in the big clubs. It went very well, and it just branched out from there. We all went our separate ways and all got personal record deals. And I got one with my boyfriend, now husband. And it was an incredible experience that is informed my whole life. I will always be first and foremost a music lover, singer-songwriter.
Oh yeah. I love music. There's just something about it. I have zero music talent, but I love to listen.
That doesn't matter at all. Yeah, we're all connected by it. It's something that's completely different than any other pursuit or discipline in the world. And we all really, I've met a couple people that don't care for it, but not many.
Really? Yeah, that I don't know if I've ever heard someone that would just I would just ask them so many questions, be like, "Why? Why?"
Why? Exactly. What part of your brain is missing that you don't get that? But, it happens once in a while.
It does, yeah, for sure. So after music, or maybe even during, you switched to voiceover work, and I could tell just by talking to you that you have an excellent voiceover voice. So how did that happen?
Thank you. That actually happened during the pandemic. Right before the pandemic, I was getting into stand up comedy, but I had a little health issue that kept knocking me down. I would get back up. And in my book, The JOAT Life Lessons from a Jill of All Trades, I make sure to give you pep talks about getting back on that horse because that's how you define yourself to yourself. If you feel that you tried and it didn't work for you and it wasn't the right thing for you, that's okay. But you should give it a few tries, whatever you pursue. Don't let that first failure knock you back forever. Get up and try again. And I did so. After 3 surgeries, they were in a terrible place of the body. They were in my skull base. And if it had been in my arm, Erin, it wouldn't have been a big deal. It was just a little cyst that kept growing back. But there's a lot of valuable real estate in the brain, and it messing with my vision and my balance. And I kept having to have surgery, and that was hard to keep pursuing the comedy career. I definitely turned some of that into humor. I felt if I could make people laugh at that, I could make them laugh about anything. And I had people in the Comedy Store, at the Improv, rolling in the aisles, quote unquote. And, it just made me feel better to laugh at it. And then after the third one, the pandemic hit, and I thought, okay, I got to switch gears. And voiceover from home was allowable. We could do it without worrying about getting out in the world with our masks. We could do it from home. And it was a career that I had for the entire pandemic.
Wow, that's very cool. That you kind of, just push through because surgeries, I have one coming up, and it's just like all in my head and stuff. So I'm
It
trying to
will get in your
escape.
head. It
Yes,
really will. It
it
will.
does.
And you just have to know it's going to be okay. Just tell yourself, picture yourself after recovery, your life, how much better it's going to be that you got through it. I'm sorry to hear that, but I wish you the best, and I know you'll be better off afterward.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And the way that you are just talking so motivationally, it makes me feel a lot better. So I'm gonna follow your path. Probably not the voiceover because I don't
Well,
have
in
that
your
voice.
own way, you're doing it. In your own way, you're getting your voice out there. That's all
That's
that matters. Your point of view, your wonderful. You have positivity as well. I saw it in all the podcasts I've listened to and viewed of yours.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. So, as far as the stage goes, comedy versus being a music artist, is there a difference, or is it still playing to the crowd?
It's very much playing to the crowd, but as I told you, having people voice and word your lyrics back to you is completely different than going and making them laugh. Now, as I said, music is very unique. Comedy is unique too, because it's the only discipline that you can make a room full of people convulse. Literally, their stomachs are moving because of things you're saying. So that's really moving too in another human reaction. But music, I think, if your lyrics can get someone through a hard time and something that they keep coming back to. Comedy records are, you listen to them a couple times and then you get the joke and you're kind of on to the next thing. Music, I still get letters and comments on YouTube about songs that are still helping people get through hard times. And that's really forever. That lives forever.
Oh, I can imagine. That's got to be so rewarding. It really does. I know, all of us writers, we want to reach our audience, but I have noticed with all of my interviews, and I feel the same way, the gratitude, or, that this book or this movie or whatever, it touched me in a way, that seems more rewarding than the financial part of it.
It definitely is. As my husband says, it's its own reward. Now you have to figure out some way to finance your
Right.
meals and home and all that. But music is definitely its own reward. And a lot of artistic pursuits actually are. It's a way of connecting with with humanity that is just, it just cuts through everything right to the heart. And
Yeah.
that's why it means so much to me.
Yes, absolutely. So let's move on to your book because I find it absolutely fascinating. I love the phrase Jill of all trades. I love that. Where did that come from?
I was writing a book of short stories, which I will be getting back to. And on the second story, it's not like it wasn't going well, Erin. I was like very happy with it. It's not like, oh, this sucks. What am I going to do instead? It was promising, but I was alone in a room of one's own. And all of a sudden, I didn't hear a voice. That's a little dramatic, but I kept getting this feeling that this book of short stories was going to be for later and that I had to write the joke because of all the things I've done. I knew I could teach someone something from everything I've experienced, every failure, every success, every interesting insider look into Hollywood and all the things that I've done. And I said, there's no way I can't write this book first. 1 year later, it was completely born. Made a list of all the things I've done, and it had to be either funny or interesting or something someone could learn from. And if they weren't that, they got thrown out. But I remembered everything I did, that peaks and valleys that people could learn from and improve their own lives from.
Very cool. So was there a moment where you realize, this needs, well, yeah, you kind of answered that. It needs to be published now versus, holding back and saying, I'm not sure if this is going to happen. Because I notice with a lot of authors, you get in your own head and you're like, I don't know if I should put it out here now. Maybe, maybe not.
So true, so true. And I really encourage people to just finish it, just put it out there. I have a part of the book that's called the 3 cliches: passion, perseverance, and putting it out there. Don't sit on it. I call them the cliches because there's nothing new in self-help. We've heard it all before. And who am I to come along and say, now I've got something new? I don't. I just have my slant on it. And I felt that there was room for it out there. So my recommendation is put it out there. Once you do it, don't sit on it because you can edit a little more, but you probably have an amazing idea, an amazing new perspective on something that others could learn from and benefit from. Get it out there.
Great advice. Excellent advice. So, what is your writing process like? We all approach writing completely different. What is yours like?
I can for fiction, it's a completely different thing. I can have music on, I can have someone else in the room as long as they're not too chatty. And for nonfiction, I apologize, but for fiction, I need to be in silence because you're creating characters and that bandwidth is completely different than writing fiction. So I would recommend get a room of your own for your fiction writing folks. Get in there and just create your world building alone. And then for nonfiction, I think you can do it. You can do it at Starbucks.
Yes. Yes. I agree with that. I started in nonfiction and that seemed, pretty, because, you're just referencing and whatnot. But man, when it comes to fiction, you really do. You get so sucked in. I know when my kids will come in and be like, hey, mom, something, I'll just like snap out of it. Like
Snap
I
out
was
of it.
somewhere else.
Exactly. There, because we have an antenna up. Whenever we write, we have a somewhat of an antenna. But Paul McCartney always says he just catches these songs before someone else does. The bandwidth is out there, and his antenna catches it. So we need to have that antenna in a quiet room. I firmly believe.
Great. Great imagery there. The book itself, can you tell the audience a little bit about it without giving away, the whole
Oh,
story?
sure. Absolutely. There are chapters about music, comedy, voiceover, and the lessons to be learned from each one. And then I have a chapter that has nothing to do with any of it called Passion versus Practicality. We live in a world where we're passionate about things, but passion alone won't do the job. And practicality alone is a little cold and hard. And I talk about the weaving of those two things that we face every single day and how really, if we can embrace both of them and make them work for us, it's really the answer to life. So right in the middle of the book, there's the passion versus practicality chapter, and it's sandwiched between all the disciplines I've gotten into and all the ways you can improve your own life, whether or not you get into any of those disciplines by reading.
Very cool. Was there a particular chapter that was harder for you to write than others?
I'll tell you, the comedy chapter was a little bit harder. And you know why? You wouldn't believe that. But as I referenced before, that was during my surgeries. So I would get into the real funny stuff. And then I'd have to say, and then I went into the hospital. And I hate to say this to you now because you're facing this, but I would write some of my material in the hospital the day after surgery. They had me hopped up on drugs and I was so inspired because I had made it through that one, and it was just incredible, and I'd get back on stage and tell everybody what I learned from it, and you're not gonna have 3. I had 3, and, it was a hard chapter just to relive that, but all in all, it's my favorite chapter in the book.
Wow. Yeah. And it sounds like such a healing journey mentally.
Very much so. Very much so. So anyone that reads that will feel probably better about what they're facing if I
Uh,
did it 3 times.
Absolutely. You said you have the short stories. Do you have anything else coming up?
Well, as I mentioned about the food and the good stuff for us, there is a chapter in the book called Fooditude, or it's referenced in one of the food chapters. And I feel that that is something that I really need to pursue. I think people are confused about what to eat. There's so many things on social media to do this, do that, use this, use that. And I'm going to put it all together for you because of my background and my husband's background. We're able to do it with a scientific bent like your father, and just let people choose. You can be paleo, vegan. I'm not going to judge you on that, but just what to choose for that particular diet to do your best for your body.
Now that I am super excited about that. I love that. I'm on a health kick right now. We get on those. But I'm also a vegetarian, and sometimes it's hard to find lots of recipes. You know what I mean for
Mhm.
us.
Mhm.
So I'm very intrigued by that.
Yeah, Fooditude will probably have sections for each way people like to eat, but how to do it best for that type.
Perfect. I can't wait for that.
Okay.
So where can the audience find you?
I am at thejotebook.com. I will answer anyone who writes. I'd love to hear from you. And then Amazon.com for The Jote, Life Lessons from a Jill of All Trades.
Beautiful. I'll make sure that those are linked in the show notes. Thank you so much for joining me.
Perfect, Erin. Thank you.